To start off, let me see a show of hands. How many of you have listened to one of your favorite songs, but in a long time, and remembered all the lyrics? Wow. How many of you play a musical instrument and remember all the notes? And sometimes I take a couple of weeks off my piano and I remember how my song goes. And this made me wonder what music actually does to the brain and why it has this effect. So, like any other curious person, I did a simple Google search. And lo and behold, music is an excellent vehicle for memory skills. Not only memory, but listening to music helps increase the neurotransmitter called dopamine. Dopamine is basically the brain's motivation molecule, and it is an integral part of the pleasure reward system. However, dopamine increase is not the only effect that it has on the brain either. In fact, listening to music, or even better, playing a musical instrument, helps change neurological patterns in the brain, stimulating growth, expression, and problem-solving skills. Now, in the neurological field of medicine, great progress has been made in the study of autism. Therapies and phenomenal cures have been made in treatments and cures. The word autism, often known as the autism spectrum disorder, is used to refer to a variety of neurodevelopmental problems. Therefore, it can be understood that the brain experiences this due to a lack of developmental growth, which music is known for promoting. Nevertheless, why is this important? Why am I standing in front of all of you today to make a change on how we value music education? Maybe it's because of these statistics. More than 7,000 elementary schools in the United States don't have access to music education programs. And what's even more painful is that this number is increasing because schools are cutting down on their music programs. In other words, the existing music programs are in danger as well. However, what many schools fail to realize is that these music education programs helps drive positive school and student outcomes like teacher satisfaction, academic performance, teacher satisfaction, and social-emotional skills like confidence and focus. Let me take you all back to an occurrence in 2008, during the Great Recession. What happened was public school per student spending decreased by approximately 7% across the country. And because of this, districts all over the nation saw severe declines in their arts and music offerings. For example, in Georgia, 42% of their schools' music programs were shut down. And while we're still recovering from this, recently, COVID-19 has also impacted public schools' arts education. Many schools witnessed programs cut and educators laid off due to budget limitations. But why am I correlating music to the community with special needs? Remember the 7,000 schools I just mentioned? Well, a majority of these schools are schools that encompass children with special needs. Why? Because school music teachers are expecting to get paid more when handling children with special needs, as extra attention is needed. But the issue here is that the schools don't have the funding to be able to afford these teachers on a daily basis, or at least a weekly basis. And I think it's because some facts are flying over our heads on why it's important to get these special education schools decked with music programs. I want us to all switch gears a little bit and think about how autism has changed over the past few years. In California, the diagnosed autism incident rate grew 612% from 1998 to 2018. So to put it into perspective, in the United States, that is approximately 1 in just 44 kids that are diagnosed with autism. But why are these numbers increasing so fast? countless amounts of research are denying the fact that it is due to genetics. Another misconcepted hypothesis was the MMR vaccine. However, the Institute of Medicine evaluated both published and unpublished epidemiological studies to conclude that the MMR vaccine has been evaluated in multiple countries and a causational link to autism cannot be made. So, what is the reason for this rapid increase? After reading many articles and conducting thorough research, scientists have come up with one possible conclusion: the environment. In other words, the food we eat, the air we breathe, and the water we drink. And as we all know, the environment has been getting worse and worse as time goes on. Air pollution has caused toxic metals to be released into the air. Therefore, we all see a clear connection. The increase of pollution has accounted for the increase of autism. Global warming and air pollution has skyrocketed over the past decade. But along with this increase, we were also able to witness the increase of autism and other non-respiratory diseases like Parkinson's. But how can a possible connection from the environment be made to the human brain? Well, what happens is that air pollution causes many dangerous neurotoxicants to be released into the air. And another issue is that exposure during the second and third trimester in a pregnant woman to organophosphate pesticides like chlorpyrifos can increase the risk of autism by approximately 60%. I mean, with these statistics, it's clear that a connection can be made. After seeing the high number of schools that don't have access to music education programs, I wanted to lend a helping hand to those students who enjoyed music. I wanted to teach these souls how to express themselves with one of the most expressive arts that I know, music. So I'm here today to tell you all about the wonderful experiences that I've had after working with children with autism. I used the piano and other smaller instruments. I would use these instruments sort of like a reward system, and I used instruments such as cymbals, a triangle, and a glockenspiel. And this allowed the students to focus on the piano, even though it was to use the instruments later. I was able to teach them so much about the piano, and while I was doing this, I used 3 different categories to measure their performance: their attention span, their cooperation, and their eye contact. Attention span was recorded through a minute scale. So if they played the piano for 10 minutes and only spent 20 minutes on the instruments, then I would record exactly that. Cooperation and eye contact was recorded through a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the least progress and 10 being the most. To put this all into perspective, let's look at the progress of one of my students. This is the progress of student A. Notice how student A started off with very minimal eye contact, with a rating of 3. But as more practice occurred, as more time went on, they started making much more eye contact with me, smiling even from time to time, ending the 6-week period with a rating of 7. Their expressive skills started progressing within just the 6th week of music therapy. I was able to teach student A so much about their piano, and they were able to learn so many nursery rhymes. We had good days and days that were a little bit more difficult to focus. But as soon as I started clapping because they played Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star correctly, it all felt worth it. My experiences with music taught me that it creates an environment for one to enjoy their time and create solutions to the everyday problems that they faced. But I do realize that one person teaching a couple of kids the piano is not going to solve the problem. Schools need better funding. And parents, that might actually be a lot easier than you think. Save the Music Foundation is a nonprofit organization committed to fostering music education and raising awareness about the importance of music education. they partner with public school districts, donating grants for new musical instruments, technology, and other educational resources to limit the threat of cutting music programs. And according to the STM Foundation, they believe that the best way for parents to raise concerns is to talk to the school directly. They need to call the school, talk to the right staff about these issues and how it can be resolved. Now, I know that this sounds like too simple of a solution to be true. But by doing this, schools realize the interest that parents have in enrolling their children in some sort of a music class. So, ask your child if your child has a music class somewhere throughout their day, and if they don't, well, you know the exact steps on what you can do to try and instill a music class throughout their school day. An age-old technique for healing is music. It increases tranquility, reduces unpleasant emotions, and raises stress tolerance. So, the next time you come home after a long day of work or school stress, maybe try saying, "Hey Alexa, can you play me my favorite playlist?" Thank you.